My name is Jerome Ferry. My cameraman is Alan Eggers. We're doing a video interview with James Lehmkuhl, a longtime Cedar Rapidian. Jim, tell us where and when you were born.
I was born in St. Olaf, Iowa on April 15th, 1928.
And what was your parents' names?
Grace and Ed Lehmkuhl.
Did you have any brothers and sisters?
I had a sister. Her name was E-Jane. Her name now is E-Jane Jones. And her husband's name is Paul.
What did your folks do? Was your dad a farmer?
No, my dad worked in a lumber yards.
Where is St. Olaf? Is that anywhere near?
North of Alcator, about 7 or 8 miles.
Okay. Did you go to country school there, Jim? No, you didn't. And then you come to Cedar Rapids when?
From St. Olaf, we moved to New Liberty, to North Springs, and then down here.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went to North Springs, my dad had lost his job at St. Olaf, and he went to North Springs to get help from family. And they helped him out for a couple of years, and then he finally got a job down here and came back here.
Would that have been a depression that caused him to lose his job, possibly?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. So what year did you come to Cedar Rapids?
1936.
36. You had been 8 years old? Was this quite an event for an 8-year-old boy to come to a?
Oh yeah, it was. We came the day before the big snowstorm in 1936, and well, like I say, it was a big one. It was a real big snow. I think that was probably one of the worst ones. I think that was the worst one I ever remember. Boy, it did snow hard.
Speaking of that same time period, that was in the Dust Bowl days. Was there any dust? As an 8-year-old boy, would you remember? Was there any dust in the air?
Not that I recall.
Okay. So, what did your dad find for a job when he come to Cedar Rapids?
Work in a lumber yard. He worked for Home Lumber Company.
Where was the Home Lumber Company?
Home Lumber Company was on 6th Street Southwest, where it's a kind of a rundown bunch of old shacks now. Mm-hmm. But at the time, it was a nice lumber yard. Mm-hmm.
What was he, a yard man? Or?
No, he was the coal man. He took care of the coal. It was a big lumber yard for its day. I think they probably had 12 or 15 men working in the lumber yard, outside in the lumber yard, and they had 5 or 6 guys working in the, what you might call the office of the lumber yard, and he was one of those. He took care of the coal.
Yeah, which was a large item in those years.
Coal was a big deal. Yeah. Oh boy, till about World War, right after World War II, coal started fading out. And it didn't take too long, and it was more or less gone. Gas heat, so much nicer and so much cleaner. The snow used to get black looking. The snow, and then the soot would come out of people's chimneys and it just sprinkle down all over on the snow, just like putting pepper on your white fried egg. It was just all over everything.
I can imagine in the fall of the year, people started putting up their coal for the winter.
Yes. Well, my dad used to think He'd be in trouble if he didn't get his bin filled in the summertime. He filled his bin in the summertime. I don't know. I think it took about in the neighborhood of 5 or 6 tons to heat a house in the wintertime. Coal, good coal. Iowa coal is soft coal. They never considered that to be a very good coal for burning in homes. Yeah. The coal that was used in the homes came from Illinois. Harder and burned slower. Mm-hmm.
Let's touch on some of the things you may have remembered growing up in Cedar Rapids. You remember the old Union Station?
Yeah. When I was a boy, during World War II, the very end of it, the very end of World War II, and on into about 1950, the Army Signal Corps would pull a train into the depot and block off 2nd and 3rd Avenue, just block them off. Pull that train down in there, it would go clear down to 5th or 6th Avenue. It was a long freight train. And all they had on there was pigeons, just pigeons. And the cages were, as I remember them, they were about that high. And it was a special car for hauling pigeons. And like I said, the cages were about that high, and they were stacked on top of each other. And it was a mechanized thing, so they could just open the flaps like this, and they were all open at once. Both sides of the car, the whole train. And away they went. And those pigeons would come out of those cars, and they'd just make 1 or 2 great big sweeps, and boom, and they were gone. And that's where the pigeons that you see down on the river originally came from. Originally, they came from the Army Signal Corps.
What did the Army Signal? They use them to send messages?
Yeah. They put the message in a little vial and fasten it on the pigeon's leg, and you'd fly it wherever they go. They would take pigeons into battle. They carried them in a small cage, and when they had to send in a message, they just let the pigeon go, and he'd go right back to wherever his home thing was over there. Yeah. I don't know where it was.
When you first come to Cedar Rapids with your folks, where did you live then?
Where did I live?
Yeah.
I lived at 1015 10th Street, Southwest. And at that time, there was a cattle buying station. Let's see. It was west of 10th Street. Are you familiar down there?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was west of 10th Street on I think it's 12th Avenue. I can't say for positive, but it run parallel with the Milwaukee tracks, and the Milwaukee was the one that run along the south side of town.
Did they have corrals down there, or pens for?
Yes, they had pens there for cattle, and hogs and sheep and horses. They had a lot of horses down there. Yeah.
When you first come to Cedar Rapids, was there still horse and buggies and drays being used?
A few.
I imagine all the milk wagons.
That was pretty much gone.
Pretty much gone?
Yeah, a few, but very, very few.
Yeah. Did your
at that time there was a Williams Boulevard was named after the Williams Dairy Farm. And the house that was on the Williams Dairy Farm is still there. It fronts on First Avenue at about 19th Street, maybe. It's still there. It's an old house. You can tell it's been there a long time. And there was barns still there, and there was a base for a silo, and there was a cattle underpass under Williams Boulevard. And where Jefferson School is, that was a big hayfield and pasture for livestock.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned dairies. Is there any other dairies that you remember?
Yeah, let's see. There was Cyril's Dairy was where Hubbard Ice is. And Davis Dairy was on Edgewood Road, close to E Avenue. So I can't tell you any more than that, an address. The building is still there. I think Dodge Cleaners or something like that was in there for a while. Mm-hmm. That was the old dairy there. And there was a Bindler's Dairy out there. That was more or less along where Highway 94 goes in through there like that.
You mentioned E Avenue. Was that called the Red Ball?
Yeah.
At one time.
Yeah. E Avenue was called the Red Ball Highway. I can't tell you much more than that.
You never heard where that originated from, that name?
It runs along the very south edge of Morgan Creek Park. E Avenue does, Red Ball Highway.
Of course, back then, all your milk was probably delivered to you at your doorstep.
Came in quart bottles. Wintertime, it'd freeze. And the milk froze in the bottle. It'd come up like that. And it'd get about that high, and that was the cream. And then the neighborhood cats would come around, and they'd stand there and lick that cream up off of those milk bottles. Then the lid would go back down there. Oh, people used to get mad about them cats licking them.
What did your mother use that cream for?
It was a very rich cream. It was like whipping cream is today. My mother used whipping cream on her cereal in the morning until she was past 80 years old. She used to use cream on lots of things.
And she probably didn't know what cholesterol was either.
That's right, they didn't know. Yeah. My dad had one of the very first open heart surgeries by a guy by the name of Dr. DeBakey in Houston, Texas. And he died in the process. But it was one of the very first open heart surgeries.
Dr. DeBakey, I think, is the one that started doing open heart surgery.
He was a very popular, well-known doctor at the time. I don't know if he still is or not.
Did your dad have a car when he first came to Cedar Rapids?
What?
Did your dad have an automobile?
Yeah. No, not when we first came. He didn't have a car until I guess we'd been here about 2 years before he got a car. Yeah. The first car he got was a 37 Chevy. That was a nice car, but it was new, and it cost $650. It was a two-door sedan. We had a nice garage for it. And it was a thing that we did not use when the weather was bad. Raining, leave the car in the garage. Snow, leave the car in the garage. We're going to take car out. They're not taking the car out. No, sir. They changed the coolant in the radiators and heaters. They did that winter, they did that in the fall, and then again in the spring. So some of the antifreeze they used would boil away, a different type, it boiled away. And so they wanted to get it out of the car and get water in as quick as they could. Oh.
Do you remember when they used to use alcohol in the radiators?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay. And you would have to sometimes put a piece of cardboard in front of the radiator so it would warm up?
Yes. Yes, they used to do that. In fact, you still see some guys do that yet. You still see a few of the over-the-road trucks. They have a kind of a plastic thing that folds over the radiator, and then when it gets about so warm, they fold them back open again. Yeah.
Keep the engine run hotter, I suppose.
Yeah.
What do you remember about the old Hunter Airport when you first come to Cedar Rapids?
Well, not very much, because it was there. I can remember going out there was a grass strip or whatever they call it. There would be, I don't know, as I remember, maybe 5 or 6 airplanes out there. Mm-hmm. Small airplanes, you know, that hold 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 guys.
You never had the opportunity to go up for a ride in one of them? No.
I wouldn't go if they paid me. I'm scared to death of heights. Still am. Oh, I'm afraid of heights.
Did you have as a boy, did you have a job, part-time job, mowing grass or newspapers or?
Yeah, my dad used to be real nice about getting me part-time jobs cutting grass. God, I used to hate to cut grass. I still do hate to cut grass. And then he got me a job working at the Linn County Co-op Dairy. That was in the 700 block of 10th Street Southwest. And I helped the butter maker in there. And they had 2 big churns, and they made 2 churns of butter each day. Those churns were, I believe they were 6 or 7 foot long. They laid down, like a big tank laying outside, and a turn that had paddles inside, you know. It was a slow process, just keep tumbling that stuff until it became butter. And then they would take it out of there and put it in a paper-lined wooden form that would pop off of there. And excuse me. The cakes of butter, as I remember, would be probably around 16, 18 inches square each way. And they would put them in a cooler and get it cooled down a long ways. Then they had wire grid frames that they would put on there and just press right down through those cakes of butter. Then they had 1 pound pieces of butter, and they would wrap them and sell them.
Did you ever have a job as a paper boy?
Yeah, I had a paper route. Boy, that was, I wanted the paper route. I started at the Chamber of Commerce on 1st Avenue and the City Hall. That's where it was. And then I went around to the Veterans side. That was the 2nd Avenue side. And then I went down west to 1st Street West and I delivered down First Street to Third Avenue, and down the north side of Third Avenue to the northwestern tracks there by Rockford Road.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had both sides of Rockford Road to 16th Avenue. It was a big paper route, and it took me a lot of time. Where the ice skating rink, what do they call that thing? That ice skating place over there on Rockford Road, you know what I mean?
The new one, you mean?
The new one.
Okay.
The ice arena.
Yeah, ice arena.
Yeah.
The ice arena and the baseball parks, they were between the end of my paper route and my house, and I'd walk across through there down through the cornfields.
Did you have a bicycle?
Yeah, I had a bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you, was this an evening or a morning paper?
Evening paper.
Evening paper. Did you have to deliver many extras, like when something...
No. The extra type thing, like when war was declared, when the war was over, when Roosevelt died, all those kind of things, they had extras, but that was handled by a guy by the name of Alex Fiddler. And he had, Alex Fiddler had the downtown boys. That is, the boys that stand on the street corner downtown selling papers. Okay, and this is the way they did it. Let's see. Watch that thing. Yeah, anyway. Stand down on the corner. Eat rabbits! Zet! Teddy! Final! Is that good enough for you? Okay. So, that was Alex Fiddler boys. And I suppose there were 15 or 20 of them. And when they'd have an extra out, then they would have more boys come in to deliver papers and take them out into the neighborhoods and sell them. And that's the way they did it. You stand around, walk around, say what I said, and that's the way they did it. I know it sounds corny,
No.
but that's the way it was.
What'd you get paid? Like how much? So much a week, or?
You got so much of paper.
Yeah.
I think it was 6 cents a paper for a week.
Yeah.
I don't know what the boys got downtown.
Yeah. Did your folks expect you to turn that money over to help support?
You have to do that.
You got to keep it.
Yeah, I did.
Were they? Did they make you save any of it, or?
Yeah, I did do that. Yeah, I saved it.
What about motion pictures? Did you ever go down Saturday matinees, or
Yes.
is that a big event?
They used to have what they call bank night at the Paramount, the Iowa, and the State Theater. Bank night on Tuesday night. They'd stop the movies, pull a tub out onto the stage, get somebody from the audience to come up there on the stage and reach into the tub and stir it around good and pull a name out. And bank nights, I think they started at $100, and they went to, I believe it was $600, and then that was as big as they got. Then they'd have what they call a double. After that, it would be a $600 and a $100 or $200, and then in Britain you always get a winner, you know. And they did most of the drawings at the Paramount Theater, and there was a lot of people, of course, that did not go to the movies. They were only interested in bank night. Well, maybe they had been there during the previous week sometime, and they bought the ticket. Well, then you keep your stuff. And you go down there on Tuesday night, I think it was 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, when they'd have that drawing. And there's, at that time there was doors along the east side of the Paramount lobby. And there would be big crowds of people. They'd close the street off, full of people standing out there waiting to hear that number.
How about circuses? You remember any circuses as a kid?
Yeah, there was circuses. There was circuses where the city barn is now. It used to be, Blue Belt Speeder used to be there, if you remember. And do you know where the pole yard is for the light company?
Yes.
Along Schaefer Road. Mm-hmm. They used to have circuses over there. And they used to unload the circuses. Unloaded some of them right downtown on the northwestern track that runs through town. And a lot of them they unloaded down here on the west side along Rockford Road, and then some of them down to Milwaukee. Milwaukee is the one that runs this way.
Were you ever fortunate enough to get hired as a young boy to help? Never did.
Never got to work in the circus. Yeah.
Did you, as a young boy, ever find out where the Magnus Brewery caves were?
Yeah, I know where they were. My mother always told me not to go down there. But there was, as I remember, there was 2 big caves. And as I remember, the front of those caves were just open. There had probably been some kind of a fabricated front on them that was long gone by the time I got there. And they had dumped all kinds of crap in those caves, so that you had to crawl over just a little part of the cave at the top like this that was open. The rest of it was all filled full of junk. And crawl over that, you get back in there, it was the cave back in there. And those caves were built like this, like a Quonset hut, half a circle. And they were lined with brick. I don't know how they ever got those bricks up on there like that. They did. Well, then those were there until they put 380 through there, and they were back at St. Luke's Hospital.
Mm-hmm. I want to back up a little bit. We were talking about dairies. Was buttermilk a popular item back then? Did people like to drink?
Yes, it was. Buttermilk. It still is. They still buy it in the store if you want to. It's different now. It's manufactured. It used to be kind of a lumpy thing. Weren't the lumps as big as cottage cheese, Agnes?
Maybe, I don't know.
I think they were. And they were in some kind of a watery substance or something. It's part of the milk. And there was lumpy stuff in there, and they call it buttermilk. Well, the dairy that I worked in, on the co-op, they'd set a cream can out in the lobby of the dairy, and just the front part of the dairy. And a cream can's about this high, and a milk can about this high. Milk can bigger than I get. A cream can is about that bigger. So they set the cream can down, then they set the milk can on top of that, and put buttermilk in it, and it had a valve on the bottom of it. And you could have all the buttermilk you could choke down. Just drink all you wanted. And if you want to take some home, you bring a can along, fill it up there. Mm-hmm.
What did they do with the buttermilk? That was a residue from the dairy process, cheese making process. What did they do with the excess? Did they?
The excess they took home for cattle feed. Skim milk. Now, so many of us drink skim milk. At that time, it was a junk thing. Farmers took it back home after the cream was separated out. They took it back home, and they had wooden troughs that were about that wide and about that deep. and they put ground corn and oats in with it and just run it on through there. And hog lots they'd have big troughs like that. Hogs just go crazy over that stuff.
The 4th of July, was that a big event when you was a kid?
Yeah, it was.
Anything stick out in your mind, celebrations? Or
Lots of firecrackers.
was you allowed to have
Yeah,
firecrackers?
lots of firecrackers.
Were they legal?
Yeah.
They were legal
Yeah.
then?
Yeah. And they became illegal, I'd say. Do you remember when, Agnes?
What?
Do you remember when firecrackers became illegal?
No, I don't.
I'd say it was somewhere around in the late 30s or early 40s. So many young people started getting hurt with it, so they had to do something.
Did you have any of your friends or yourself ever get hurt with firecrackers? Well, Christmas, was that a fun time in the
Yeah,
Lehmkuhl family?
Yeah, it was.
Do you have a tree?
Yeah, a Christmas tree every year. I have an uncle who lives up to Silver Pines rest home. He was at my house every year for Christmas. Every Christmas of my life. And I'm 75, so he was there a lot. Except 2 during World War II.
In the wintertime, did you ice skate?
Yep. I skated where Fillmore School is. What do they call it now, Agnes? Abbey Center?
Abbey Center.
Abbey Center. A-B-B-E. Abbey Center. Yeah. That was where the ice skating rink was.
Was the Lou Dennis rink at Manhattan? Was that there when you were a kid?
Where the Lou Dennis rink was, or is, was it was a place where people never went to. You would never go there. It was kind of like a junkyard.
Swampy.
Full of all kinds of junk, everything you could imagine in there. At that time, the King's Cement Company, they were up here on the riverbank about where the dam comes across now, about there. And they had barges and a big diesel tugboat out on the river. It had a pump on it to pump sand down the bottom.
Dredge.
And they would pull those things way up in there and way up the river, past the area you're talking about, past that. Up, I think they went up along about where Edgewood Road Bridge is now. I think that's about where they got the biggest part of their sand. They pile it up on these big barges, take it down there and unload it, and go back and get another load. That's where sand came from to build Cedar Rapids, on the river. And they had a couple of big old barges that, they were made out of wood. And when they became no longer more serviceable, they pull them up in there by the area you're talking about, and just let them sink to the bottom. And it was that kind of stuff around in there. That area, as we know it, didn't even exist until after World War II.
How about sledding? Was that popular in the wintertime?
Yeah, it was real popular.
What was your favorite hill?
Roosevelt School. And I had 2 of them. Another one was where the new baseball park is. I used to go there all the time because it was close to home.
Yeah.
Start up on top of the hill and slide down to the east, down onto Rockford Road. Yeah.
Cutting ice. Do you remember them cutting ice in the river when you?
Yeah, covered ice did that. and they had a kind of a wooden chute that was like a reverse chute. It was, as I remember, it was somewhere in the vicinity of that wide. It was made out of planks, and it just went along and right down into the river. And in the wintertime, they would cut the ice. They had big saws they used, hand saws, like that. That's where they cut that stuff. And then they would bust those pieces loose and get a big tongs and put a hold of them big chunks of ice and pull them over by that chute, put a rope around them, and pull them out of there with, I don't know, I suppose a team of horses, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Then they put them over there in that ice house, and they lay down sawdust and ice and sawdust and ice and so forth. That's the way they kept ice
Through the summer.
through the summer.
Yeah.
And then in the summertime, they sold the ice in, I think it was, do you remember the size of them?
No, I don't.
25,
My memory on history is not very good.
25-pound cake and a 50-pound cake. I can't remember if it went bigger than that or not, maybe. And it was wrote on cards. Cards were about that square, big numbers, and you put it in your window, the size that you wanted. And the guy would chip off that much ice and take your tongs and put it up on his shoulder and bring it right in the house, put it in the icebox for you and leave.
Did you have such a card for milk? To let the milkman know how much you wanted any particular day that do you recall?
Yeah.
Or did you just put out your empties and
Did we?
I had, not for ice, but I don't remember about milk.
We had for ice, but I can't recall from.
how about fishing? Did you get interested in fishing
Nope.
in the Cedar River?
Not much. Oh, David and I used to go fishing. That was my boyhood friend, David Bruns. I was telling you his dad painted those pictures down there where you work.
And in the, I think they're in the conference room, the early pictures of Cedar Rapids.
I think it must be
Edwin Bruns, perhaps?
Yeah, there's 8 or 10 of them, something like that.
And your best friend's dad painted those pictures.
Okay.
Do you remember segregation? Would you have even known what it was?
To some degree. To some degree.
Did you have any black friends that?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a girl in class. Her name was Viola Tate. I thought she was okay.
Yeah. Did you see where there were, or were you aware of any places they couldn't go or couldn't do that was
No, I can't remember anything like that.
prior to your time? Okay. I take it this is a picture when you was 10, 11?
10, 12, something
Yeah.
like that, I suppose. Yeah.
Where did you go to grade school, Jim?
Taylor. And the old Taylor that I went to is torn down. And then I went to Cleveland, and that was another grade school. It was on the corner of 15th Street and 1st Avenue, and that's torn down. And that was the Chandler home. And it was a very nice home for that particular time. It was built, I think, during the late, I don't know how to say it, but the first 10 years of a century. It was built during that time or into the 20s, along in there. It wasn't used as a private residence very long, and then the city bought it and made it Cleveland School out of it.
That was the Chandler
It
Pump
was the
Plant family.
Chandler Pump family. And the one that they lived in before that was a brick house. The one they lived in before that was wood frame, and it's still there. It's on the corner across the street from Turner's Mortuary on the west side.
High school, where did you go to high school? Roosevelt High School. And did you graduated in what year, remember?
46.
1946.
Yeah.
And is this, did you have any idea when you was in high school what you wanted to do with your life? Or was the military
Yeah, I knew I was going
on
to
your
go
mind?
to the military.
Yeah.
So I went to take a physical at Fort Snelling in St. Paul, and they scared me so bad that I came home and enlisted in the Navy. So the Navy was, it was good for me. It really was. I had never been away, know anything about traveling, nothing. That was all strange to me. And to get to go to the Navy and get to travel like they let you travel, that was really something for me.
You can imagine it was. Yeah. And this was probably when you were in boot camp.
Yeah.
I am going to have you hold this one up. This is the ship you served on.
Okay. This is the ship that I served on. It was called the Comstock. It was a repair ship for landing craft. And I went to school, like I said, I went to Roosevelt School and graduated in 1946. I went through Roosevelt School and through the Navy and back home. And one fella was with me all the time, and he still lives in Cedar Rapids. His name is Harry Lee.
Yeah. And you were on board ship together with
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't very often that boys stuck together that close as he and I did. We were anything but friends, absolutely not friends. We were acquaintances, but not friends.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably still that way today.
Yeah.
I know he's out there, and I know where he lives, and I've seen him very seldom.
Yeah. Where was this ship stationed out of, or did you go?
It was at the time that I got on it. It was at Long Beach, and Long Beach, or the Navy sent us to a school to learn how to fix wooden boats. And that ship had landing craft on it that they took the boys from the ships to the beach in the invasions, and they were made of wood, some of them. And then they got kicked around, they had to be repaired, and so they had a gang of us on this ship that we rebuilt those boats.
You didn't probably have fiberglass in those days.
I didn't know what it was. Never heard of it.
And in order to fix a wooden boat, that took a milling and perfect fit to keep it from leaking.
Yeah. They were made of teak, and oak, and some plywood. Teak, it's quite a scarce item anymore. Teak furniture is very expensive. At that time, they were using it to make boats out of.
How many years did you serve in the Navy then?
I think I was only there 2 years.
2 years. Mm-hmm. So you come back to Cedar Rapids.
Yep.
And your intentions of what? Were you married? No, you weren't married. When you come back to Cedar Rapids, and your first job after service?
At that time, they had a program they called 5220. The government would pay you $20 a week for 52 weeks if you didn't get a job. Got a job, then it was over. It was for servicemen. So I thought, I'll take that.
Yeah.
I took it for 5 weeks, and my dad says, "You better get a job, Jim. You better get a job." So I got a job.
Were you were probably living at home yet?
Yeah, I was still living at home. I got a job working over at Lehmkuhl Speeder. And that's where the city barn is now. You remember when Lehmkuhl Speeder was going?
Yes, yes, I do.
Yeah, I worked there for a couple of years. And then I went over and worked for Mother Latner for the rest of my life.
And
Mother Latner's granddaughter works at the art gallery downtown, at the art museum downtown, and her name is Triss Jungie. You ever go in there?
yes, been in there, but I didn't know that until I talked to you.
Triss Jungie. She's the one that owns Latner Manufacturing now.
Wasn't her mother related to the?
Latner's. She was a Latner. That's right.
And what did the Latner? Or what did you do at the Latner company? What was
I
you?
worked out in the factory, making boilers and stuff like that. Crates. I painted the boilers and got them boxed up to ship wherever.
What type of boilers did they make? When you speak of boilers,
Well, they made what they call a flueless boiler. It was just a tank, and at that time it was about, I don't know, somewhere around 15, 16 inches in diameter and 3 foot high. And they made them put them in a little stand, and they insulated them, and then you could hook up all kinds of pipes to them so you could control them, gas controls and water controls, in a place where they iron clothes, wash clothes and iron clothes, dry cleaning.
dry cleaning.
Dry cleaning jobs.
Anybody that would have use for steam
Right.
in their business would need a boiler.
Dairies, vulcanizing shops. Like I said a little while ago, one of the fellows is in Hong Kong right now. He sold them. He sold that big hotel over there, brand new hotel. He sold them 5 big electric boilers, and he's over there. I don't know what the hell he's doing, but he's there.
This here was started by
Paul Latner.
Paul Latner, and that's
Paul Latner. And his brother Joe started Century Engineering. Do you remember Century Engineering?
yes, I do.
It hasn't been there for 20 years, I suppose.
Was the Latner company, was that ever unionized?
Yes. I was union. I was union every day of my life. I was union.
You were.
Yeah.
They had union when you started there. Then.
Just gotten it in there. I was union, and I still believe in unions. My dad did not. Boy, he had no time for unions. And it cost him every day of his life. It cost him because he felt that way. The things that that we used to cry about so much when I suppose were you union?
Yes.
Were you?
Collins Radio.
Okay. Well, so many of us developed a kind of a crybaby attitude, and we were criticized for it. But among the things that were real important to us crybabies in the union was health insurance, pensions, holidays, vacations, wages are way down the end of the line. Those other things, they were really important, especially the pensions. And where you worked at Collins Radio, they had a very nice pension. They had very nice health and accident insurance, prescription, they had everything. We did not have that in the small shop I worked in. But it wasn't all bad either. They treated us pretty well. in the end, when I finally left Latner's, you know, I retired, finally had a last day. They were very nice to me, very nice.
Didn't the Latner Manufacturing celebrate their 75th anniversary here some years back in the 90s?
Yeah, they did. I can't tell you exactly when they started. I think it was in about 17. So it'd be somewhere around 75 years old.
Did you ever say where the location of the plant was? I don't think you did.
What?
The location where the plant was located?
Oh, it's still there. It's at 1411 9th Street,
Okay.
Southwest. Yeah, it's still there.
Shortly after you started there, you and your wife must have got married.
Yep. Yeah, I worked there about a year before I got married.
In 1952.
Yeah. I started in 51 at Latner and got married in 52 here to Agnes. We got 50 years coming up pretty soon.
Your 50th anniversary will
Yeah,
be coming
50th
up.
wedding anniversary.
Was this the local girl?
Yep. Agnes lived in this particular neighborhood her entire life. She still lives here. And, Agnes has donated her time in music to the church for a lifetime. She never paid for it, but she has donated her time for a lifetime. I think that's something.
So what year did you retire from Latner?
1993.
So that puts you about, what, 43 years?
Yep, 43 years.
43 years.
Yeah.
You lived in this neighborhood quite a long time. Do you remember any large floods? Especially down along Ellis?
Any what?
Floods? Floods.
Yeah. Oh yeah, floods, yeah. Agnes has, somewhere she has a picture of her dad in a rowboat in the 1300 block of Ellis Boulevard. I don't know where that picture is, but I know that she has it.
Do you remember the one of 61, the flood of 61?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. But it never got up in there. We had a boy. When was our boy born? 61? Agnes? Agnes? When was Paul born? 61? 61, I guess. And we had, he was a baby, and we had two older children, just, you know, like that. And we lived at 1100 block on Ellis Boulevard, down there by, close to where that eating place is. Now I don't know the name of it anymore. And everybody got scared. How bad is this going to get? How bad is it going to get? And when was Paul born? 61?
That's what she said, yes.
At that time, they built a wooden wall. It came. What avenue is that? Where the kink is
Penn
in?
Avenue, Penn.
Penn. They started a wooden wall at the dike along Penn Avenue. And it come this way to Ellis Boulevard. Then they put it right down the sidewalk to Ellis Park. And as you get down to Ellis Park, you get there, that street that runs along the south side of the park is, what one's that one runs along the south side of the park?
Ellis Lane.
Ellis Lane. Along the north side of Ellis Lane, there's a dike that runs along in there. It's there.
Yeah.
And they went to that dike, and then they sandbagged the whole thing. A lot of sandbag. Man, they ain't really sandbagged down there. And that's when they finally decided to do something about the dikes down there.
Do you recall a large home up on the hill here at O Avenue, Bluff View, it used to be called?
Yeah, where Conrad Johnson used to live. And there's a big barn with it. The barn is still there, and the home is still there. And the house was remodeled just before Conrad Johnson moved in. And the hardware was all painted over in there, the hinges and handles and stuff like it. And they scraped them and discovered that they were sterling silver. So, that's about all I know about
Yeah,
that
okay.
place.
How about Belmont Hill?
Belmont, that's in back of me. That's a bed and breakfast now.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the name of the street it's on. I think it's I believe it's off of 16th Street.
Seminole?
Real close. Real close to Seminole Valley Park. It's probably a good 2 blocks. But, yeah, it was there when I was a kid.
Do you recall who lived there? That
No, I can't tell you.
had you ever been up there? That
Yeah, I've been up there. It's quite a nice place.
How about this area, the Meckwith area out here? I'm sure none of that was there when you were young.
When Agnes and I moved over here, when this house was moved, that was not there. Let's see, now, I'll take that back. I think it was there. The Methwick Manor, what they call the Manor House, was there. I think it was built in about 56 or 7. Yeah, about 56 or 57, long enough. And Agnes and I came in about 62 or 63. And what else should I say?
Well, was there a? Do you ever recall being a brick hill being up in there?
I don't recall it, but there was a fellow that lived down the street here. His name was Don Mann, and he has children that live in Cedar Rapids yet. And this was his home area, and he told me that the brick kiln to build these brick houses with all over this area were made at a kiln that was at the north end of 13th Street and K Avenue, where Arbor Place is now. Arbor, A-R-B-O-R, Arbor, like a grape arbor.
Yeah.
They call it Arbor Place. That's where the brick kiln was, and the clay came out of the hill where Methwick Manor House is, and then down off of the hill there was another place where they got it right in back of where Harrison School is now. Then they used to in a kiln or a brick kiln or a brickyard, they have a lot of bricks that are considered seconds or junk bricks or whatever, and so they have to do something with them, so they dumped them in this creek over here. And,
Behind you.
Yeah, right here in back, all they had bricks all up and down that creek. And when I came, then I started calling it Brick Creek. And I've got a hobby shop in the backyard that I call Brick Creek because it proximity to Brick Creek. Well, then after Methwick had been there for 20 years, I suppose, or better, then they changed the name to, they call it Brindle Creek. Brindle, that sounds more refined, you know. But to me, it'll always be Brick Creek.
You were talking about a hobby shop out there. What has been your hobbies throughout your life?
Woodwork.
Woodworking?
Woodworking, yeah.
Clocks, cabinetry, or...
Yeah, I did that. I've made some bowls and different things. Built 2-3 houses. Kind of like a after-work job. But I never got paid for it. It was always woodworking to me has always been something to spend money on, not to make money at. I never made a nickel at it.
It involved too much time to be able to charge for it.
Yeah. And this is my wife, Agnes. Agnes and I have been married 50 years this year. Agnes has been a good wife to have for 50 years.
Yeah, are you a Cedar Rapidian all of your life?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I was born here.
And your family, you have a photograph there of your family?
This is my father, Leslie. My mother's name was Emma, maiden name Dopnik. And I had 2 brothers, can't tell you where they're standing. Paul's in the middle, and Merle, and myself.
And what did you work at?
I worked at the telephone company from the time I graduated from high school in 1943. And I worked there till 1949. And I went to school a couple years in Indiana. And I came back and worked till 1957.
Yeah. What type of school did you go to?
I went to Anderson College in Anderson, Indiana.
To
It's a church college.
Oh, okay. Did you enjoy working at the telephone company?
Yes, I did.
A good place to work.
Yes, I enjoyed it very much. I worked as an operator to start with, and then I went to and then I was also a schedule clerk in the traffic department, and then when I came back from college, I worked in the business office. And while I was, actually until I didn't retire, but I quit in 1957 to have our first child, I was a service observer, and I enjoyed everything that I did there.
You mentioned you were a scheduler. What would you have done?
I scheduled I signed work days, the work schedule for the traffic operators.
And how many children did you end up having?
We have 4, 1 daughter and 3 boys.
Do they live in the
Marlis lives in, our daughter lives in Cedar Falls with her son Ed Daly, and they have 2 children, Brian and Lauren. And Tom, Paul, and Carl are the 3 boys, and they live here in Cedar Rapids. Tom is married to Diane, and they have 2 boys, Danny and Eric. And Paul is married to Michelle, and they have 2 children of their own, and then she has 2 besides that from a previous marriage.
You had a nice picture here, Jim.
Tom was and is the
Don't cover any faces.
superintendent where I worked at Latner's. And Paul is a dental prosthetic man at Dental Prosthetic Services.
And our youngest son, Carl, lives here in town. He's not married.
He's a carpenter.
He's a carpenter.
Jim, unless you have anything else to add to this interview, the History Center, the the Linn County Historical Society would like to thank you very much for sharing your memories with us.
Okay, you're welcome.